Fantastic, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. I'm Dom Famularo, and I'm here in my studio in the bunker, so to speak, that is celebrating these incredible interviews that I have for Vater Percussion. It's just so great because we get the chance to kind of really step into the world of many of these percussionists and drummers, and it's so interesting for me because I get to meet people and I step into their world of understanding how they learned, what their passion was, and really what drives them. And that's the message that I want everyone to understand and realize, that there is deep passion in these artists. And when there's deep passion, that's something that can suck you into a world of, like, when you meet someone that's passionate, you just get embodied in the enthusiasm of what they do. And our guest today is absolutely going to open up doors for you as far as enthusiasm and ideas and passion. But what we're doing is we're going to finalize our details for next week, July 27th. So stay tuned for all the Vater social pages and we'll make it happening. But August 3rd, oh man, check this out. August 3rd, we're going to have Haley Brownell joining us from Los Angeles. Haley is a great drummer, singer, guitarist, and songwriter that is currently on tour and doing television hits with the rising star Olivia Rodrigo, including a recent stop at Saturday Night Live. She's also very involved with Hit Like a Girl contest, so this will be loaded with tons of inspirational stuff, and we'll step into the world of what Haley's doing, so this will be exciting. So please join us. That's going to be on August 3rd. We're not exactly sure for next week, but we'll keep you posted. Watch all of our social media. Today, this is great. I'm going to play a video for you. Check out this video. Absolutely fantastic. Now you can imagine she's playing open-handed, left-handed, left hi-hat. We're going to talk all about these different ideas of how she did this and her influence of making that happen. This is incredible. Ashlyn Shanafelt is a superb musician, independent drummer, and educator out of Austin, Texas. She's always focused and dedicated and a hardworking student herself, constantly pushing herself to the next level. She keeps busy with session work, live work, and as an independent drummer in the unique Austin music scene. Please welcome Ashlyn Shanafelt. Bring her in.
Dom, hi, how are you?
I am fantastic, Ashlyn. Thank you so much for joining us. You know, I love watching you playing, and many of the videos that I've watched and a lot of the lesson stuff that you've done too, which I want to talk about. I love the fact that you are a natural lefty.
Yeah, I am a natural lefty.
And you play a righty kid. Now, when you kick a ball, do you kick it with your right leg or your left leg?
No, I kick it with my left. It's so weird.
Interesting. That is interesting that you're a natural lefty, but yet you sat on a righty kit and started playing and went right to open-handed playing, which is also how I play and many other drummers, which just makes sense, but I'm a natural righty.
Yeah, it was weird. Like when I got my first drum set, my dad actually put it up as a left-handed kit. And so I was like, okay, cool. Yeah, I'm left-handed. This makes sense. And my left foot would not work for me. And I didn't know what to do with my right foot on the hat. Like, it was just, this felt so weird. So eventually we flipped it, and I was like, oh, this makes more sense. But I actually did have a ride over here on the left side for a little while too. So it was just kind of like I had to experiment with it for a little bit. And I'm still kind of, figuring out, like sometimes I still catch myself wanting to ride with the left hand, but it's kind of like an ongoing experimental thing to just keep switching things up.
Well, listen, the art of playing any instrument, specifically modern drum set, is an ongoing thing.
Yeah, no, it's true.
It's going to happen. Now, I play with 2 rides on my drum set, 2 rides and 2 hi-hats. So my right hi-hat is closed, my left hi-hat works with my left foot.
Mhm.
So having that choice of being able to play a right-hand lead or a left-hand lead, the advantage of playing the way you're playing, which I have found, is that no longer do I think playing a pattern righty or lefty. It's what sound do I want? So my right is one sound, my left is a different sound. So it really kind of gives the chance of that kind of flexibility. But how old were you when you first started playing?
Oh, I was little. I remember when I got like this little mini first act drum set when I was like 5, maybe. But before that, my mom supposedly said that I was drumming on pots and pans, like so cliche, you know, but I grew up doing that. So she was in the kitchen cooking or washing dishes or whatever. And I was just kind of sitting on the floor, banging around on pots and pans. And she noticed that I sort of had rhythm, and she's like, wow, that's, you're 3 or 4 years old. This is crazy. But yeah, I mean, I didn't get my first drum set until I was 10. So it took me a while to get, I begged my parents for a drum set, but they finally gave in. So I'm hoping they think it's the best decision they made.
Well, I'm sure. Listen, I'm sure when they see what you're doing and the success that you're having, and you're playing, you're really, exciting people with your playing, and you're playing music, and you really are extremely committed to every note you play. So there's a real serious dedication that you have that I want everyone that's listening to understand. And we already have people signing in from all around the U.S., all around Canada, Malaysia.
Awesome.
We've got people literally, starting to
Wow.
right now as we go on. So let's talk about that for a second. 10 years old, you get your first kit. From 5 to 10, as you were kind of playing around before this kit came in, were you listening to any kind of type of music at all?
Oh yeah. This is, I'm just going to own it. It's not embarrassing. This was circa 95, 96. So like Hanson was popular. I remember having a VHS tape of Hanson's tour, and I plugged that thing in. I had this crappy little first act kit, and I was playing to Hanson in front of the TV. And I remember it. I remember it like it was yesterday. It was amazing. I was like, I'm going to be one of Hanson's drummers. Like, I'm going to be a drummer just like Hanson is. And yeah, I didn't know if I wanted to be him or if I had a crush on him or what it was. But I was like, oh yeah, I'm a Hanson drummer. For sure.
Well, just so you know, I also had a crush on him, so don't worry about it.
I think everybody did. I mean, you're growing up with 2 other brothers in a band. Like, how awesome is that?
Fantastic, right? And it was great music, great pop music, and what it was.
Yeah. It's still. I mean, that MMMBop song still comes on the radio. It's still a bop. It still jams. Yep.
I love it. So now, 10 years old, you get your first kit, and again, it was set up lefty, but then you decided that it wasn't comfortable. So did you switch it around? How'd that work out?
I think that I switched it around, or I might have told my dad, like, hey, I don't like this. Like, this doesn't make sense to me. I feel like I can't keep a rhythm. And he knew I could play. So it was like, well, maybe you should set it up as a right-handed kit. And so we did. And it was just like, wow, this is what it's like, But even when I was little, I don't remember playing as a lefty then either, like on a left-handed kit. So I don't know. It just kind of happened one day. Well,
that's such a great natural way. I mean, the first one to play open-handed that I had recollection on was Billy Cobham. Mm-hmm. And he made the change in 1959. A dear friend for over 50 years. And what's amazing about it is that he's a natural righty, and he just felt that the crossing over concept was just
weird. And
it wasn't. He kept on restricting himself to play.
Yeah.
He just started playing, at the time, open, and that just kind of stuck. And he lowered his hi-hat and playing that way. And then the second person that kind of followed that, committed, was Simon Phillips.
Yeah.
Simon's also a natural righty who started playing this way in the process. Then people like Lenny White and many other people kind of came into the fold. Then Carter Beauford came in. Now, Carter Beauford, I believe, is a natural lefty.
He is, yeah. I'm actually a big Carter Beauford fan. I kind of grew up listening to Dave Matthews. So, and I didn't know that. I didn't know anything about like any of those guys. But then I found out, oh, he's a lefty. He plays open-handed like me. That's so cool. So it was awesome.
Carter will be the first one to tell you that his influence was Cobham.
Yeah. Yeah.
As, I always say, when it comes to open-handed playing, all roads lead to Billy Cobham. So, I mean, Billy had this vision to do that. And Billy just put a ride cymbal to his left and just almost like willed himself to play left-hand ride, even though he was a natural right-handed person. So it's kind of interesting to see what you've done with this. So now you're playing, you're 10 years old, you're playing. Are you playing to records at this point? Are you meeting musicians?
I didn't really meet many musicians until around high school, but I was very influenced by what my older brother was listening to. So he was listening to a lot of like Tool and Rage and Deftones and, Incubus and like all those rock bands, kind of in the mid 2000s, early 90s or late 90s. So I was trying to play along to some of that stuff. And then once I got reintroduced to Dave, I was listening to a lot of Dave Matthews songs, and I was like, wow, this is really cool. And it just kind of, some of the stuff that Carter was doing on the hat, it just felt like really comfortable for me to do. So you can tell in my playing, I still have a lot of influence of Carter and what he does, especially with the hats and like some of the ride hits that he would do. But now, I'm kind of I don't want to say I'm forcing myself to do more right-hand lead stuff, but I did grow up in marching band. So I was forced to do right-hand lead stuff, on snare and tenors. It just kind of felt natural to do certain rudiments and stuff, starting with your right hand. But
so how old are you when you got involved in the drum corps stuff? So now you're in junior high school. Did it start then, or?
Yeah, it was. I believe it was 6th grade. I tried out for band. They wouldn't let me in percussion yet. I had to play trumpet. Which I loved trumpet. I mean, I was pretty good at it. I'm not gonna lie. I was first chair, but then they were like, "Do you want to try out for percussion?" I was like, "Yes, absolutely." So I did that concert band throughout like middle school, junior high, and then once high school hit, then I was on the snare, the drum line, and even did jazz band for a little bit. I wanted to see if I would be interested in that. So I kind of just wanted to do as much as I could and learn as much as I could when I was in high school. Yeah.
What was the influence of the music program in school? How did that really kind of help you out? How important was it?
Oh, I feel like it was really important. I don't know. There was a lot of stuff that influenced me. But I think that honestly, it was my friends that made a bigger impact than just being in band. Because we were all so passionate at that time, creating stuff together and working as a team. Is that's what it's about, when you're, especially just in a band in general, you have to work as a team, otherwise it's going to fall apart. And that was what was really influencing to me, was just, there would be a drum line, a leader, a captain, and we would all just kind of follow his lead. And, it was just a good experience, I think, overall.
What were you practicing at this time? Were you working on rudimental stuff? Were you taking, did you take any private lessons?
I wasn't taking any private lessons then. Actually, I didn't take lessons at all until college. And it was because of my major. I was a commercial music major. And, but yeah, I was practicing rudiments all the time. I was practicing to books. I had, I think stick control was a big one. I mean, it still is, it's so relevant. But stick control was like the one book that I really dove into.
Beautiful.
And then just sheet music that I would get, I'd ask the drumline instructor if I could have, like previous, 4 or 5 years ago, their drumline stuff, and just see if I could play it. And I was really into it. I really loved marching band.
What was driving you? What drove you? Were there any other females in the marching band?
Yeah, there were a few. None of them were on snare or tenors. We had a couple bass player, or a couple bass drumline chicks that were in there, but I think that I was the only. I think there were 2 other girls on like the snare line.
Great.
But even that it's still cool, like a couple chicks on snare. It's like, yeah. come at me, you know?
Absolutely. I love it. Well, it's just so great with the amount of female drummers that are hitting the scene now in the last several years. It is so exciting to see the growth of females being accepted and being in
Yeah.
more bands and being featured more. This is fantastic. This is a whole new world of what it is. And, with myself, with my students, I got to tell you something. My best students are my female students.
Really?
And there's no doubt about it because they learn faster. Movement to my female students is much more fluid. With the male students, they're more macho and they're stiff and they're tense. So their movement so to get them to loosen up takes time.
Mm-hmm.
Females learn these techniques, whether it's free stroke or from the wrist stone or whether it's mold or whatever it is, they kind of get this stuff real fast. So we can move quicker. So it's kind of interesting to see just the overall mentality, how they approach the instrument. It's completely different, coming from a completely different point.
Wow. That's really cool to hear.
Yeah, it really is. So here you are now. You're learning. You're going through also books like Stick Control. Did you go through any rudimental books, like any Will Coxon? Were there any kind of rudimental books that you?
No, it was. Unfortunately, I wasn't ever like introduced to any of that stuff. I mean, my dad kind of played drums in high school and college a little bit, but nobody ever showed me any books, and even my friends in drumline didn't really, So I never really opened up any of those books besides Stick Control until like my last semester of college. And even that, I don't even remember what books they were. I did have to practice a couple Tommy Igoe books from my drum instructor. That's what we kind of learned out of. So we played a lot of samba stuff and a lot of just Latin grooves in general. But no, I mean, I was kind of, as a teenager, sometimes you're not fully dedicated, you still want to go hang out and be with your friends, and you don't think it's really a career. It's not really going to be anything. You're just going to play drums with your friends and stuff. So I wasn't extremely serious about it until I moved out of my parents' house and decided, you know what, I'm going to play drums full time. I'm going to see if I can do this and make it work.
So what was that deciding factor? What was it that turned you going on from playing drums to now a committed musician? What was that? Was there a point in time?
I think in college, I was in bands in college, like in the commercial music, in the creative arts building. That's what it was. So South Plains College in Levelland, where I grew up, they have a really great music school. And a lot of people don't know about that because it's so small and, it's such a small town. You pass it in 2 seconds, you blink, you miss it, so that's where I grew up. And I was in bands in college, and I learned so much in those 2 years that I was doing music that I was like, I really do have a passion for this. There's nothing else that I would want to do. And yeah, so that picture was one of the that was one of the 80s bands that I was in. We were called Moose Abuse. So like hair moose. And it was epic. That was such a fun band. So we played all the 80s hits, but like just performing live in front of an audience and live, it was on TV and it was broadcasted live. It was just such a rush. I was like, wow, this is amazing. I want to do this forever. I want to be a gigging musician. I want to go on tour. I want to play in stadiums and arenas. Like, this is what I want to do. And so I made the decision, like, I have to hustle. I have to work at it. If I need to get a part-time job, I'll do it. And I did for a little bit. And nine to fives are not for me. I will say that. But yeah, I mean, eventually it just kind of, especially when I moved to Austin, it was complete full-time, like 0 to 90 in 2 seconds,
Boy, like yourself, the 9 to 5 mentality of that kind of a job was not for me too.
Yeah.
This is now you become self-employed. You are now,
right.
You are really, or you got to, meet contacts and network people. You've got to kind of get out there and start to work your name and keep your playing, rising to a certain level. So what was it like now? You make this commitment. Were you meeting musicians in Levelland? Were you, jamming with people? You're kind of hanging out, and was it growing excitingly, or was it difficult? What was it like?
It was kind of difficult. When I was in high school, I had a couple friends that played guitar and bass, and this was probably was it my junior year? Maybe even it could have been my freshman year of high school. We were jamming at 3 Days Grace. Like it was really popular back then. So, they knew all the 3 Days Grace songs, and I was like, yeah, I know them. Let's do this. So they would just come over and we would play that, but nothing ever, happened with it. It was just a couple friends coming over and jamming. And then in college, Lubbock and Levelland are really close together. I was in a all cover band called Plan B, and trust me, I didn't pick the name, but we were all covers, and it was fun for a little bit. It taught me a lot. And then by that point, I decided, I'm graduating college, I'm going to move. And that's when it really took off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're meeting musicians, you're talking to them, you're starting to play. So did you realize at one point that Levelland might not be the place to stay in?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. It's a cool little town. There's I don't want to say there's nothing to do there, but mainly everyone just goes to Lubbock because it's 20 minutes away. It's but in Lubbock's music scene, I think, is growing too. It's mostly Texas country stuff, Red Dirt and that, like, that scene. But I was trying to get away from that because I'm not a Texas country kind of musician, and it's a great scene to be in. It pays really well, and a lot of people are really supportive in that scene. I still get calls from a bass player that I was with when I was doing that stuff, and he still asked me to go on tour, and but there was just, you just kind of had to get out of there to if you're wanting to be a musician, it's just not the place to be, honestly. Except unless you're in college. That's I don't regret staying there for college at all. I learned so much in that school.
Yeah, and there are many smaller towns like this here. I've been to Lubbock, Texas, a couple of times. And it's a wonderful area. The people are great. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
But if you're talking about a music career where you want to kind of get out and meet a diversified amount of musicians that are playing different types of music, which it seems like that's kind of where you're at. You want to be influenced by a wide variety of genres as opposed to being put into one, pocket of playing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's you just gotta. It's just kind of like, if you want to play that genre, Lubbock's where you want to be. Yeah. But even in Fort Worth, there's it's not as big of a Texas country scene, but you will see more of it there too. And I was just tired of that. I wanted to play like blues and rock and funk and R&B, and now I'm dipping my toes into like prog a little bit. So Austin has all of that. It has everything that you want in a band. If you want to play jazz, if you want to play rock. I'm in a country swing band that I never thought that I'd be in. So there's just so many options here. It's really great.
So you're playing all these different styles. So then are you listening to a wide variety of different drummers now, or musicians? Or?
Yes, now I am. And I hate that I was so bad about that growing up. I didn't know who anybody was. I didn't care to look up drummers or, even singers of bands and stuff like that. So I kind of had to figure that out on my own. And now that I'm with a bunch of, like, I actually made friends with a lot of drummers here in Austin, and they know a lot of people. And so now I'm like doing research on all these different drummers and legends, from the 50s and 60s and 70s. So I'm learning a lot being here, just from all the influence of people who have been influenced by other people. They tell stories, and it's just like, wow, I have a lot of homework to do.
Well, we all do, for sure. Have you seen? Yeah. There's a couple of documentaries that are out that I recommend. Have you seen the documentary called The Wrecking Crew? I
haven't. I've heard about it though.
If you get a chance, it's on. I believe it's on Netflix, and it's about Hal Blaine and the studio band that recorded all of the hits in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. and they were just a studio band, and they just recorded and played for everyone from
Mhm.
Elvis to Sinatra to Barbara Streisand to the Carpenters to the Beach Boys,
Mhm.
you name it, and they did it all. And all the number one hits that came out of those decades. The drummer was Hal Blaine and the Wrecking Crew, and it was amazing. And
Wow.
there's a documentary called The Wrecking Crew that is out. That is just an incredible documentary to watch and see the workings of what these guys did. And it goes back to our history and our past. And also they have with there's one called it's called Muscle Shoals. Muscle Shoals is a city in Alabama, that's a little town in Alabama, that where many recordings were done. And Roger Hawkins, a phenomenal drummer that worked on all those tunes, Aretha Franklin, Bob Dylan, all that was recorded in Muscle Shoals. And that documentary, I believe, is on Amazon Prime. Go
Okay.
watch Muscle Shoals. It just as a
Yeah.
historical sense, and everyone that's listening, those are two great documentaries that really open up our mind of all these tunes that we know of these people that played that came before us. That really is historically important to understand.
Mhm. I'm definitely gonna check those out for
Really
sure.
cool stuff. So you're listening now. You make the move to Austin. So you make the move to Austin. What was that like? You packed up and just moved.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I was kind of coming here every weekend pretty much anyway. So like, I'm just gonna move here already. It's time. I was in Fort Worth for 6.5 years. I decided, you know what, I'm gonna take the plunge. I'm gonna do it. So I moved here March 2019, and it was a little scary because nothing was happening for a good 2 months, 3 months, which doesn't seem like a long time. But when you're in a new place and you don't really know anybody, it's a little scary. So I just networked like crazy. I posted on basically every Austin musician page that I could find, just kind of telling people about myself. I'm a drummer. Here's my resume. Here is my Instagram, like all this stuff. And I had people reach out to me overnight, and I was in 3 bands in 3 months. So like it was amazing. And that's how I got my first tour living in Austin. And so I really have to say that those Facebook pages are really important. I think, they're really great for networking.
Well, the social media really is about relationship cultivation. So what you
Yeah.
absolutely brilliant. You got in town and you did the relationship development of getting people to know what's happening, but you hustled. So that first tour, what was that first tour like? And tell me what happened. You meet this band and all of a sudden now you're on tour and
Yeah.
up and running.
So a guy, his name is Dustin Schaefer. Awesome dude. They call him Sunshine because he just smiles and he's so happy all the time. Really sweet guy. He's playing for Shane Smith and the Saints now. And so he posted on Facebook. He's like, "Hey guys, I need a drummer for this tour for about a month. We're going up like a Midwest tour." So it was like New Mexico, Colorado, like Idaho, Utah, Montana was the last place. So it's like, yeah, I want to do it. I want to go on tour. So I messaged him, told him, "Hey, I'll audition." And I get in there and I get the gig. And our first stop was in New Mexico. And it was just such a wild tour. I mean, it was really cool because we were up in the mountains and we got to go hiking and kayaking and like paddleboarding, and just got to hang out with amazing people. And so the first stop was New Mexico, and there was this chick that was holding a bald python snake. And it was in this bar, like we were in a bar, and I'm like, what is going on? And she's like letting kids pet the snake and hold it. And I'm like, I think I'm going to do that. So I told Dustin, I'm like, hey, I'm going to go and just see if you can like just pet the snake. And I was just going to pet it. I wasn't going to hold it or anything. And she comes up to me and she puts the damn snake around my neck. She goes, "Go sit behind the drums and I'll take a couple pictures." And I'm like, oh my God. And you can see it. I mean, she was a really sweet snake. I can't remember her name. It was really cute though. And she just laid around my neck, and I was like, I'm feeling very Britney Spears right now, like with a snake around my neck, But it was terrifying for a minute, I've never held a snake, much less had one around my neck like that before. So that was wild. That was like a really cool start to the tour. But after that, we just stopped at so many cool different places and had such a fun time. It was so much fun.
So Austin really is one of those cities where a lot of live music is happening. That that whole avenue of just insane music going on all the time. So how did you network? Did you go to certain clubs? I mean, you were doing the social media thing. Were you going to clubs every night? Were you trying to meet musicians? What was the process like?
I I really didn't go out a whole lot. I was kind of it was a little intense because Fort Worth, moving from Fort Worth to Austin, it's such a different scene. It's so busy here. Yeah. And whereas Fort Worth was really calm and, downtown was a breeze walking around. You weren't really, kind of scared for your life to get almost get shanked by somebody, which it's not that bad, but a female walking around is, but anyway, so like, I didn't really go to clubs. I mostly just networked on social media, and my friend Manders, her name's Amanda. She goes by Ruby Dice. That's her band. And she reached out to me and was like, "Hey, do you want to come and we'll just jam? I listened to some of your stuff. Come and jam with us at a rehearsal space." And I did. And she called this other band who I'm now in, called The Reverent Few. And she was like, "Hey, I found your drummer." And so one thing led to another, and that was 2 years ago. I've been in that band for 2 years now. And, it's what's cool about this scene is that everybody is so just connected and supportive with each other. And that's what it's about. It's a team effort. Everybody is struggling to do the same thing, and they just want to make it. And when you find your people, it's worth it. It's still a constant hustle, but social media, man, it's a lifesaver. It really is.
Well, this was just at a time when you made the move, and then pretty soon COVID hit.
Yeah.
So what happened during that time? Everything just kind of shut down.
Oh man, I was gigging 3-4 days a week, and then all of a sudden all of my gigs got canceled, and I was like, oh no. And I'm sure everybody felt this way, and being in Texas, like we all knew it probably wasn't going to last very long, and it didn't. I was only out of gigs for maybe 2.5, maybe 3 months. Oh. But to me, like it was nice. It was kind of nice because it gave me a chance to go to my little, at the time I had a really small storage unit, and I called 8 or 9 places to see if they allowed musicians to play in storage units. And this one place said yes. So I booked it over there. I started, buying all this stuff to set it up, paddings and blankets and everything else to just drum. I just wanted to keep drumming because nothing was going to stop me from doing that. I didn't care if I didn't play gigs at the time. I was like, I just want to create music somehow. And that's what I did. And I started taking drum lessons. So COVID hit, was it March? And that's when stuff started shutting down. So by April or May, I was taking personal or in-person drum lessons with my buddy, Cameron Carbone, who's fantastic. He's just one of the best teachers I've ever taken lessons from. Nice. And I've learned so much. It's a humbling experience because I was kind of stuck in my ways for a little bit, but I just buckled down and played. That's all I wanted to do. So I was recording songs almost every day. I was trying to build up my social media. I was trying to work on the YouTube thing, but like Instagram it's such a good tool to have because you get to just put in those 1-minute videos and just lay that stuff down really quick. Yeah. And then I did my cozy COVID couch sessions. I did a couple of those. I should have kept it going, but because it was really cool. People were like, "This is awesome." It kind of gave them something to do too. So it was kind of a blessing in disguise for me, I think, which I kind of hate saying because COVID was so intense, and it's still coming around, and so many people lost their jobs and got sick, or but.
When you went back to playing, in the midst of COVID, were people, wearing masks? Were they socially distancing? What was it like playing music like that?
Yeah, everybody was still wearing masks. We didn't have to on stage, but I mean, everybody was still kind of paranoid at that point, which is understandable because it was, things kind of started kicking back up in June, maybe late May. And, people were like, I don't know if we should even be playing. And a lot of people were getting mad at us and, saying that it was not a good idea. And maybe it might have not have been a good idea, but, that was our job. We're musicians. We have to make money, and other people were losing their jobs that were working 9 to 5. So it's like, we didn't know what to do at that point. We just wanted to create music. And we did a few live stream stuff. And the band that I'm in, I think they still do live streams every Sunday, like on their front porch. So they do like acoustic stuff. But yeah, for a while, it was kind of scary. We didn't know how many gigs we could even play. So it kind of almost felt like a hobby at that point.
So what was the teacher's name again? Carbone?
Cameron Carbone.
Cameron Carbone. What was he showing you at this time? What was he presenting to you at this time?
Oh, we did a lot of like, this guy. He knows kind of what you're thinking while you're in the lesson. And we did a lot of just math, like counting notes and really trying to figure out placements and almost theory stuff. But he's a very intellectual human being. He's a smart guy. And he's kind of taught me a lot about, he kind of made me fall in love with the drums again, to be honest. I was telling him, I want to be able to know what I'm going to do in a solo, or like be able to do like metric modulation and not mess up, or, just complex stuff that I didn't know that I was ready for, right. But I needed to change something. And he's helped me kind of develop all of that and be more advanced in a way that I didn't think that I could be, really.
Well, it's very impressive. And I've seen some of the lessons that you've done. What'd you call it? COVID lessons from the couch. What was it? What were that?
My cozy COVID couch sessions.
COVID couch sessions.
Yeah.
Boy, that's a real tongue tweezer.
Yeah.
In doing those, I got to tell you, when I watched them, your hands sound fantastic. And as a student of Joe Morello and Jim Chapin and Shelly Manne, these guys, they would have loved your hands because they really are just, you beautifully execute what you're doing. And some of the exercises that you had were some 4s and 3s and flams in there. So you really kind of had some pretty interesting sticking challenges that were there. Where did that all come from?
I think that most of it was from drumline in high school. I practiced all the time, and I just wanted to get better. And looking up to the guys that were older than you, sorry, something popped up on my screen. Looking up to those guys that were older than you, it was very intimidating. I just wanted to be as good as the seniors on the drum line. So I just did rudiments constantly. And even in college, I was doing rudiments and stuff. I took not private lessons, but I took like actual snare work lessons. So we like read out of books and stuff with another teacher besides the like actual drum set teacher in college. So I kind of made myself, being a female, you kind of just have to work harder anyway, because, and it's getting better, but a lot of guys, they're not going to look at you in a serious manner, being a drummer, being a female drummer in this industry. But I just wanted to get good at having chops. I'm such a pocket drummer, and those lessons with Cameron have helped because it's kind of getting me out of my comfort zone to play just wild stuff that I didn't think I could do. It's just it's like an ongoing lesson.
Again, this instrument is, if we have the desire, which you obviously do, to be a constant student, and that's something which we have to commit to for the rest of our lives.
Yeah.
Constantly learn, because it helps us with our creativity. It helps us with the fun of learning the instrument. There's a lot that's going on with it too, but you really have a great way that you explain things too, with those pedals. So where did the teaching thing kind of come in?
Well, I've been taking lessons with Mike Johnston, so his online stuff, and I've done a few camps. A lot of people kind of had that connection between me and Mike, and even when I got to his camp, he was like, "Oh my God, are you my sister? Like, this is crazy," because we kind of played similarly, and I didn't know this. Like, it wasn't like I was intentionally trying to play like Mike Johnston, you know. But he obviously was an influence for me, you know, over the last, I'd say maybe 5 years. So the way he taught kind of clicked with me, and it was just like, okay, this makes sense. And you know, taking lessons with Cameron in person, he also has a way of explaining things to where anybody could understand it. You know, even if you're not a drummer, you could definitely understand what he's trying to tell you. And I had asked him a couple lessons. I want to get better at teaching. Teach me how to teach.
Nice.
You know, and so that helped. I mean, it's still helping. I'm still taking lessons with him, and he just knows how to get in your brain and like twist some knobs and make you figure this out. You know. So when I was doing those cozy COVID couch sessions, I kind of, I guess, brought into the Cameron Mike inner, you know, I just wanted to see how would they teach it? How would this make sense to where anybody could understand this? And so that's what I was trying to do with that.
Well, I think you succeeded. I think you found some great exercises for people to practice. And Mike, yeah. I've known for years, and he does a great job in what he does. I look forward to someday meeting Cameron, because I mean, I think this is a great, you know, opening up this next generation of educators that are out there that are pushing this art form forward, which you clearly fit into. So with the lessons themselves, are you doing more of these, you know, cozy couch sessions? Do you have any more of them coming out?
I might. I see. The thing is I wish that I could teach more lessons, like live stuff in my shed. Unfortunately, I don't have very good service in there. I mean, it's kind of like a dungeon in its way. It's a metal box. It's just an aluminum box that I'm in. But I could teach some just some stuff to put on YouTube and Instagram from my shed. I think that would be really cool, and it's something that I do look forward to doing. You know, right now I'm gigging so much, and it's just like I want to be in the studio, and I want to be able to teach when I want. But it's just kind of a constant hustle. You know, you almost don't have time to do all of the stuff that you want to do right now just because of gigs, which I shouldn't complain. Like, I'm thankful. I'm so thankful that all of this is happening. But I would love to just be able to sit in my shed for a few days at a time and just knock some stuff out for you guys, you know?
Well, I mean, that'll all happen in time. That's just kind of the way it all works out.
Yeah.
That's what they are. But how do you prepare? Like when you're learning tunes, how do you prepare for learning tunes? You know, how do you prepare for a gig? Do you write charts out? Do you listen to the tunes over and over? How do you personally go about it?
I try not to use charts, to be honest. Sometimes I do end up writing out charts, but I kind of just listen to the songs over and over and over, and I purposely get them stuck in my head. So when I know that I'm singing a song before I go to bed and I wake up with that song still in my head, then it's like, okay, now I know it. Now we're good to go. But I do sometimes write charts out if it's kind of a complex song. But I mostly just put everything on my computer and get into my shed and just play to the songs over and over again. And sometimes I'll even like put it in GarageBand and loop it. So there's certain parts of a song that might be hard. I just loop that one section until I get it down, and then I move on to the next area of the song.
Well, what advantages that we have now with being able to loop things and go on. I mean, it was very different years ago before that. And but now you have these tools. So how computer savvy are you? Are you really kind of savvy with a lot of this stuff?
For the most part, I was in a band that wanted me to do a bunch of Ableton stuff and like use a pad. And at the time, it was so quick. Like, it was like a last minute thing. And I needed somebody just to help me, just to teach me how to do this. And I was sort of on my own a little bit. So it was a little frustrating for me just because I'd never done it before. And, you know, for the most part, I'm tech savvy, I think. Like I'm in that generation where it's like you kind of grew up with technology. But yeah, that was like a whole different ballgame for me. Ableton and like using pads and stuff to make like this hybrid electric acoustic drum set thing going on. That was a little difficult for me to do.
Yeah.
And I'm sure maybe if I just sat with it for a while and really tried to, practice it and fall in love with it, I'm sure I would enjoy it a little better. But I ended up selling that pad and got rid of Ableton, and I'm like, I'm good with GarageBand. I'll get Logic or Pro Tools. I've used Pro Tools before, but I haven't been in a situation yet where I'm like really editing just yet. So, but that day will come. I'm looking forward to it.
It sounds like you're open-minded enough to take it in. I mean, that's what it takes.
Yeah.
Willingness to want to learn and take that in. I mean, I use programs here in my studio, and I've had to learn this stuff, and it's an ongoing learning process that it seems like it never ends, because just when you start to take ownership of one program and what's happening, something else is right there that might be a little bit better. Before you know it, you're moving on to the next adventure.
Technology, it advances so fast. It's like you almost can't keep up. And it's cool because I love editing video. Like I really love editing videos. And so I'll sit there in Premiere Pro for hours and just like tweak stuff. But mixing and EQing stuff isn't as much fun as editing video for some reason. And I think maybe it's just because I don't know how to do it as well. So I'm still learning how to get the drums sounding just right. Every time I get in there, I'm tweaking something a little bit more. Yeah. So I'm getting closer to where I want it to sound like. And I'm only using a 3 mic setup right now. So you're kind of limited, but
But there's a learning curve there, which is fantastic. So let me ask you, what makes a great teacher and what makes a great student? In your perspective, what makes a great teacher, but what also makes a great student?
Passion for both. You can tell when someone's not passionate about teaching. It's just there's almost a wall there. And same with learning, as a student, you kind of have to, you have to have the willingness to learn and to be vulnerable almost. You have to want to get better. And that relationship between me and Cameron is so cool because he wants to get better at teaching and I want to get better at learning all of this stuff. And so when I'm teaching, I get so excited when my students figure stuff out. And this is a cliche thing to say, but like literally seeing that light bulb go off is so rewarding. It makes it worth it. It makes it worth the curriculum of figuring out what they need to be learning before you start teaching them, making a curriculum for them, and the hours and hours you put in on both ends, teaching and being a student. So I think passion is really important.
Boy, good for you, man. A great response. It really is a driving force.
Yeah.
That's needed. What motivates you?
See, that's kind of a tough question. There's a lot of different things motivate me. I listen to a lot of live albums, especially Dave. It's kind of funny. I listened to a Dave Matthews live album, and that band is the only band that can bring me to tears. And I think a lot of it is the audience because they're just so involved. He was playing a song and he just let the audience sing the whole way through. He just kept playing and I was like, oh my God, that is the passion and control that I want on stage. I want to get my crowd to do that, and it's just okay, it's so inspirational. And it makes me just want to get on the drum set and go play and practice and get better. Because I just want to play for people, and usually it doesn't matter if there's 10 people or 1,000 people in the crowd. It's like, I just love playing. Because there's always somebody that walks up to me and either notices that I'm left-handed or notices that I'm I make this weird face and they can tell that I'm like really thinking about something. And a lot of the times it's because I switch over right-handed and I'm like, okay, paradiddles, inverted paradiddles. Let's try and do this. But they can just see that. And it's just really cool to.
Oh, even a lot of the pictures are just seeing some of the video and performances of you playing.
Yeah.
You're a passionately expressive player, and you wear your heart on your sleeve.
Yeah, I think that's what it's about. It's a vulnerability thing. People can see when you're closed off when you're playing. And I just want to have fun. I just want to have fun with it. And a lot of the times I probably don't always look happy when I'm playing, but I really am. I'm so happy when I play. I just can't like cheese on the kit. Like some people, when you watch Carter Beauford, he's constantly smiling and it's like, man, that guy, he's so happy, But I am like, it's just such a cool, like, it's so cool to be a drummer. It really is. And I'm so thankful and blessed to have this talent, I don't know what else I would be doing if I wasn't a drummer. So.
Pretty magical when you think about it, that we have found our niche in life, that we really just, this niche that we have that just kind of works for us, and it brings us great joy, and that great joy that you feel as you're playing, you're now delivering great joy to other people. This is a pretty powerful circle that we're involved with in this process here.
That's what it's about. If I can make people happy with just my drumming, I'm good with that.
Let's talk about Vader now. Some Vader sticks that you have. You use the Matrix model?
I do use the Matrix model. I have them right here, actually. These sticks feel great. They're not too long, not too short. I think they're just in between a 5B, 5A, hickory. I love the taper. I love the barrel tip. I think that it has really good cymbal definition.
Yeah.
So I've been playing these for about 2 years, and I love these sticks.
Well, good for you. Well, your playing is so fluid and so smooth and just so great. And just as I said, you really have a real natural sense of, it's almost like you're dancing and moving on the kit more than just kind of playing the kit. It's almost like you're dancing with the drums is really my best way to describe it.
That's really cool. I've never heard that before. That's really cool to hear. It kind of feels that way,
Well, I think it looks that way for sure, but it sounds that way. You're just inside the music and you're dancing with the music, and you're just producing these sounds that are allowing these dance steps to be heard. What it sounds like, And the Matrix sticks, the balance of your hands, you feel that just kind of fits for you, and that's where it's at.
It just feels so natural to hold those, and you can tell when a stick's not right for you. It just feels like you're actually holding a stick. And these, it doesn't feel like that at all. It's just, and I think Mike Johnston might have said this first, but it's like an extension of your hand. And that's what these feel like. They just work so well for most genres too. And I'm playing rock and blues and country and when I say country, like Western swing stuff. So I'm doing a lot of ping-a-ding-dings on the ride, and they work. They're quick. And they just sound great. They feel great.
Well, that's the quality of Vader products. What Alan and his team do is just so, it never ceases to amaze me, the quality of product that they make and the quality of product that they make that lasts. These sticks last.
Oh, they last forever.
Other stick that I've ever had. I think he really understands the water drying out moisture content that allows the stick to have a longer life and still feel that great throughout it.
Yeah. It's kind of funny. I actually have a stick. I should have had the picture, but I was trying to see how long one of the sticks would last, and it's just split. I mean, it looks like a beaver just went, gnawed on it, and I mean, it still won't give. And I'm like, I'm gonna wear glasses because I know something's gonna happen eventually. But it's been months, and that stick won't break. I'm like, wow. Vader's dope. Vader's awesome.
There's a video at that the guys at Drumeo did where they took one stick and it's 10,000 hits to see when they can break it. And they do it and they speed through it. They do it in fast.
I've seen that. Yeah.
It's hysterical, and that stick lasts all these hits.
Vader's no joke. They don't play around over there.
So that's out of the mind of Alan Vader, man. He really has an incredible, brilliant mind. in doing this here. Well, this is a pleasure to have some time to talk to you. I'm going to let you one last thought in closing. What advice would you give to a young drummer that's thinking about moving to a different city? What would you say to them? They're going to move to a different city. What kind of preparation do they need to make that plunge?
Oh, that's a great question. I think that the main thing is to just don't lose hope, because there's going to be times where you're kind of going to be stuck, not doing anything. Just try to keep yourself busy. It's a constant hustle moving to a new place. Networking is a really big deal. So whether it's Instagram or Facebook, you'll find your people and hold them close, because they're on your side. Really, they're here to help you. It's all about making connections and networking. So if you have that in the bag, I think you'll be fine. You just gotta hustle.
Well, that says it all there. Well, obviously, you hustle your tail off because you are finding success. You're making it happen. You're not taking no for an answer. You're putting in the perseverance and the hard work that is needed. And because of that, you really are becoming one of the real future leaders in our community, which we for sure need.
Thank you.
I thank you for that, for sure. You're doing just fantastic.
It's awesome to hear.
Ashlyn, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your effort. Thank you so much for your talent. Let's stay in touch for sure.
Yeah.
And on behalf of myself and the whole Vater team, we thank you so much. Keep going. I look forward at some point to meeting you in person and hearing you play. That I'm looking forward to.
Oh, thank you. That means a lot. It was an honor to be on here. So thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Stay well.
All right. You too.
Fantastic. Bye-bye.
See you.
Boy, how great to have someone like Ashlyn here. I mean, she really is. You can see her enthusiasm, she passion. She wears, like I said, her passion. Her heart is on her sleeve. She's right there with it for what she wants to do and what she's doing now. But that's dedication at a pretty high level. So I ask you all to make sure you learn from her. Follow her on also social media, and soon AshlynShannafelt.com is coming out. So check out, follow her, and seek her out. And if you want some lessons, go down there and check her out and email her and track her down and private, direct message her, private message her, and listen, sit down with her. She's got some great ideas, and she really is the future of what's happening in drumming. So thank you so much. Next week, we're not exactly sure who's going to happen next week, but on August 3rd, oh my gosh, we're bringing in Haley Brunell. This is going to be fantastic, from Los Angeles. Great drummer, singer, and guitar player and songwriter, currently doing television hits with this rising star, Olivia Rodrigo. Recently, they have her on Saturday Night Live, so check her out. She's involved with Hit Like a Girl and several different things. So we'll have some more fun with Haley in a couple of weeks. But I thank you so much. Keep me posted. I am enjoying these on Tuesdays at 2:00 Eastern Standard Time. Join us again. Thank you, Ashlyn. You have been absolutely fantastic. Thank you all, Chad Brandolini, for helping out. Vater Percussion. Thank you all so much. Stay well, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.